Hello, Nishas here with another Topic of the Week video, and this is my 2nd year anniversary. Wow, it's kind of surreal. I didn't think I'd be doing topic videos for this long. But I have to thank everyone who's been watching my videos and supporting my channel, because I really could not have done this without everyone's support that I've gotten. This, of course, like my last anniversary topic video, it will be a Borderlands topic to celebrate the fact that my first topic video was a Borderlands video. And if you want to submit topics for Borderlands, you can submit them away, and I'll do them on other times, because I can talk at length about Borderlands. But I always have to do my anniversary topic with Borderlands. And this one is going to be about Jack and Nisha. This week's topic was submitted by helbertinelli, and her topic is: can you please talk about Jack and Nisha and what you think of their relationship in Borderlands 2 and the Pre-Sequel, and what you would have done differently if there's something you would have changed about their relationship? Okay. Lay some foundation for this. Nisha was first introduced in Borderlands 2 as was Handsome Jack. Now, I've already talked about Handsome Jack in my last topic video. I'll put a card up, in the corner for that. I've already talked about Handsome Jack in my last anniversary topic, but I never really talked about Nisha. Now, Nisha in Borderlands 2, there really wasn't a whole lot to her character. I mean, really, the only things that they established with her is the whole Sheriff of Lynchwood thing. In fact, I don't even believe they came up with the name Nisha until the Pre-Sequel. Yeah, because I think she was just known as the Sheriff of Lynchwood. But there are a few things that kept her from being, just kind of a tack on. Because, I will actually have to say that when I played Borderlands 2, I did get the feeling that Nisha was sort of that the whole Lynchwood thing was sort of a last-minute addition. Because it did change a few aspects of the story, especially involving, Brick and the death of his dog. Because it was, saying that Nisha was the one who did it. So, and then, it's trying to tie her to the Vault Hunters and yada yada yada, all that fun stuff. Now, really there wasn't a whole lot with her, but there are a few points about her that I think did kind of make her interesting, and I really wish that she would have, had a bigger presence than, just being in more or less a side area. There was the fact that, she's got the whole sheriff, thing going on. She's dressed like a sheriff, which is cool, and, it's kind of the whole cowboy thing is a little, not really done very much in Borderlands. So she stood out because of that. And, through, the echoes, you get elaboration on the fact that she is hyper strict with her rules. I think she had over 300 rules, and the penalty for breaking any of them is death. And she really got her jellies off to just, ruling over Lynchwood. And then the other interesting point that when I was playing it, I found out she's dating Handsome Jack, and especially when she was like, I'm gonna prove to all y'all that, that Lynchwood wasn't just an anniversary gift from Jack, and I'm like, she's dating Jack? It's like, oh my gosh. And it's this weird thing because their relationship makes perfect sense. They both are egomaniacs. They both are, they both want to portray themselves as heroic figures, but they're basically just mass murderers who they have their own, they have their orange and blue morality in their head that, anything that they do is right, anything that you do is wrong. And, you can just see them working together. And just, unfortunately, we don't get any interaction between them in Borderlands 2, because I'd say that I felt that Nisha was a fairly last-minute addition. But the idea of that is already interesting enough. Now, frankly, it's disappointing that, her whole quest line ends with her dying. And then that's really it. I do have to throw a dig here at Anthony Burch, because I remember one time he was complaining online. He was like, oh no, I can't believe that Nisha died in Borderlands 2. I really wish I hadn't done that. It's just so, disappointing. I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, there's hardly real canon when it comes to, the side missions. The only stuff that's canon is, the main story mission. you know, it doesn't really matter, you know, what really goes on in the side missions, because in terms of the Borderlands canon, you know, you don't really need to follow that. So I'm just thinking, dude, he's like, this is the guy who had to write out new U stations just so he could commit his massive amounts of character deaths in Borderlands 2, you know, killing off, you know, several major characters and making things super grimdark. It's like, if you really wanted to bring Nisha back in a future game like Borderlands 3, which thank goodness Anthony Burch is off the series, you know, you could just say that questline didn't end with her dying, or the Vault Hunters never actually went there, or something. But no. Anthony Burch is an idiot. What else is new? No, so yeah, really, that really goes in, and there's not really much talk of, you know, going back to the main topic, there's not really much talk from Jack about Nisha. I think the only time he really mentions her is after you kill her, and he, you know, he calls because he's really miffed about that, and then he's just like, you just killed my girlfriend. And that's really it. It's kind of underwhelming, frankly, for, you know, the woman who's dating handsome Jack. There's no real talk about it. I'm like, there's so much potential for that. So, when the pre-sequel was announced, and they were talking about how, wow, I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, when they talked about, you know, the Nisha was going to be one of the Vault Hunters. First off, I'm going to get to that. That's a bad thing. That was so stupid. Anyway, you know, when they talk about, you know, so we were going to see more of her and Jack's relationship before Borderlands 2. And frankly, I could do videos just on how, you know, the pre-sequel doesn't fit into the timeline and how it should have been done, but I'll stick to the stuff that's just related to Jack and Nisha. But anyway, I was really hoping at first, because I didn't realize just how bad the pre-sequel was going to be, I was really hoping that, you know, we'd actually get to see Jack and Nisha meet, how their relationship started, and actually get context for their relationship. And we do get a little bit of that, and there are some nice moments, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy some moments with Nisha and Jack. It's, you know, the character writing was just garbage, as is the rest of the writing in the game, but you see, what really pisses me off is the way they portrayed Nisha. They basically portrayed her as everything that she hated in Borderlands 2. Because Borderlands 2 establishes a few things. She hates bandits. She wants to kill bandits. Another thing she could bond over Jack with is that they hate bandits. They just have this irrational, like, murderous hatred for bandits. And the general population of Pandora. And another thing about her is that she hates Vault Hunters. Why? It's really not explained. It's just there to cause conflict. But hey, why not roll with it? Like, you know, explain why she hates Vault Hunters. But nope, in the pre-sequel, she's a Vault Hunter. I don't mean to sidetrack on this topic, but when I talk about the pre-sequel, I just... You can't escape the bad writing of it. And, oh gosh. Another thing that really annoyed me is that when, you know, Jack was first... You know, they have these little echoes about Jack, you know, looking to recruit people in his cameos from Angel. And gosh dang it, Angel deserves a better series than this. She deserved better writing than just being killed off in Borderlands 2 for absolutely no reason. But anyway. You know, and one of the things that's said is that Jack is like, oh, Nisha's a bandit who kills bandits. That's hot. I'm like, wait a minute, but he hates bandits. He makes it abundantly clear in Borderlands 2, and even in the pre-sequel, he doesn't like bandits. Why does he have this instant boner for a bandit? Like, just because she's hot doesn't mean that he'd automatically want a boner. It's like, of course I can get into the whole timeline issue, because he should have been dating Moxie, but then they broke up, and then he hasn't destroyed the Underdome, despite the fact that that was supposed to happen, right? Okay, sorry. Yeah, this game is a headache trying just to break down why it breaks canon so badly, but I'll try to keep this to Jack and Nisha. I'll try. If there's one thing that I liked about them in the pre-sequel, it's their flirtiness. It's just instant, like, boom, you're hot, I want to flirt with you. And then, like, Nisha has these constant quotes about how, you know, oh gosh, I want to bang him, or she'll make these sexual comments, and it's like, okay, I can see her doing that. I can see her making those comments. And it's nice to see them interact at all. If there's one thing I really would change, just on a base level, it's her design. Nisha's design looks so terrible because, you know, you kind of get this idea that, you know, we don't get like specific ages, but I kind of got that she was in her mid to late 30s like Jack was. Maybe late 30s, early 40s, a kind of thing. And the pre-sequel takes place between the 5-year gap between Borderlands 1 and 2. Except in the pre-sequel, she's dressed like she's 20. And, like, she's dressed far younger than she should be. And of course, you know, there's so many issues with the timeline, but I mean, at least have her dressed a little bit older. You know, it's like, I mean, Moxie gets away with dressing skimpy because, well, she's Miss Fan Service. She's literally designed to be sexy, despite the fact that she's probably in her 40s by Borderlands 2. Not that she'd ever say, but, you know, it's just, it always seemed a little weird to me that she was dressed like that. But that's really a side note to complain about. Overall, the relationship wasn't that bad, but it should have been, okay, here's, like, I'll just give a few changes. I won't delve into the whole changes, because I have a freaking, again, like I mentioned before, I have a whole rewrite of Borderlands the Pre-Sequel. Just another one of those things that I've rewritten, and, you know, I do all sorts of cool stuff, like, I actually make Michael Mamarol one of the Vault Hunters that Jack hires, because how did he get his start? Okay, I'm sidetracking here. Just like I said, it's hard to, you know, talk about anything in the pre-sequel without all these numerous problems coming up. But really, what I would have done with their relationship, and I have to bring Moxie in because it's actually an important plot point in Borderlands 2 that Jack and Moxie dated. And then when she broke up with him after she realized that he was a total freaking psychopath, he burned down the Underdome because, you know, you don't want to date me, well, I'll destroy the one thing that you really care about, is her business and the Underdome. So it's like, whew. And then, you know, then that's, you know, her main conflict with Jack was, you know, that whole issue. And that's his beef with her, is that she broke up with him, and he's just like, oh, hell no, no one breaks up with Handsome Jack. But, excuse me. I mean, in the game, we should have seen Jack and Moxie date. We should have seen that, at least at one point. And frankly, if I was handling the game, you'd by necessity have to do time skips. You know, skipping out times, because you have 5 years to cover within this. And, you know, you have, I think, maybe a couple years to play around with. Like, if you have Borderlands, you have Borderlands 1 here, then you have, you know, a couple years. And then it's like, because I think I don't remember, there's vague references of 3 or so years that, that Old Haven was destroyed, and, well, no, New Haven. Yeah, it was New Haven. Yeah, Old Haven was the trashed up place that, that the Crimson Lance were crawling around in. And New Haven was the junkyard. Yeah, so the destruction of New Haven, which was a major plot point in Borderlands 2, it's like, I think that was 3 years ago. So you have basically 2 years to lead up to that point, because that's that 2-year point after the first game is when you have basically a lot of the events from Borderlands 2 really start kicking off, and you have the whole conflict with Jack really kind of reaching a boiling point, and so yeah, I mean, you know, talking about that, so you'd have to time skip, and you have several things to cover with that, such as Jack dating Moxie. Then Moxie breaks up, or because then you had, all right, let me get back to, you know, even further, because it's important. Moxie started dating Mordecai because Mordecai won the Underdome. Instead of wanting money, he turned it down because he wanted to date Moxie. Moxie dated him. Then she thought he didn't appreciate her very much, so she broke up with him, started dating Jack. Then Jack, you know, revealed that he was a total psychopath. Sure, he's good looking, he's freaking rich, but oh my gosh, this guy is a freaking mass murderer. I mean, and he's so bad that the people of Pandora think he's too much. And Pandora is full of murderers. So, then she leaves Jack. Jack burns down the Underdome, and she basically ends up becoming sort of a refugee because everything she had was destroyed. So then she ends up moving to the Sanctuary, and basically was under Roland's protection with the whole Crimson Raiders. And then Jack starts dating Nisha. Okay, so we're back on track here. I know it's complicated. There's a lot of BS that goes on between Borderlands 1 and 2, so you gotta keep track of all this stuff. But one of the things we didn't see is how they met. So there's a lot of easy ways that you can change how they met without actually having to do something as stupid as making her a Vault Hunter, which makes no sense because she has a very open hatred of Vault Hunters in Borderlands 2. So why would she be a Vault Hunter? It's not even the hate what you really are thing. It's more of a, no, she literally just wanted to kill. She really just hated Vault Hunters. But of course, it was a change made out of necessity to make her more commonplace, and of course they wanted to have more female playable characters because they really patted themselves on the back. They're like, we have 2 female playable characters. This has never been done before in Borderlands, despite the fact that Borderlands 2 did have 2 female playable characters, Maya and Gage. And yes, Gage was a DLC character, but that still counts. But they wanted her to be around, even though they could have made her a significant NPC. That's what I would do. Jack is an NPC in the game. You don't play as Jack. The closest you get is playing as Timothy, his doppelganger, who actually turned out to be one of the best characters in the game, along with Wilhelm. I was shocked how much I ended up liking Wilhelm in that game, and he's one of the few things that I actually say is unambiguously good in the game and the way they portrayed him. Anyway, I'm sorry. There's so much to talk about with this game. So, what I would do, personally, is you have, the Vault Hunters going on, they're working for Jack, and they go into, a place that Nisha is in. And then Nisha, then Nisha basically ends up, doesn't really like him, she doesn't like Vault Hunters, but, then she ends up, because of them, she ends up meeting Jack. And I would create a scenario where she has to fight bandits, and then she basically contacts Jack and is like, I want your Vault Hunters I want your lackeys to help me fight bandits. And he's like, we're gonna kill bandits? Sign me up. And then, then they end up actually physically meeting through that. And then you have them basically be like, okay, you hate bandits? Pretty hot. Let's hook up. And then it's like, that's really all you have to have with Jack. And then Jack would be like, he should get tits and should hook up. And she'd probably slap him or something. And, they would really have a very, that slap kiss kind of relationship. But, and you start off like that, and you would have them be the sort of evil power couple. And gosh dang it, I would have killed to see an evil power couple, Jack and Nisha, in the pre-sequel. At any point, really. It doesn't even have to be, during the game. It could be somewhere near the end of the game. Because, by necessity, you would have to have all the stuff going on with, Moxie first, and then you have, him date Nisha. But, it's like you really could have done a lot with that. And in the games, whenever Nisha meets Moxie, she's really derogatory towards Moxie, and it's kind of understandable since she's Jack's ex, but it really could have been it's because they screwed up the timeline by having Jack and Moxie break up long before the pre-sequel starts, and long before he actually had his rise to power, because he's not even, oh my god, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, wow. It's like trying to figure out the actual headache that is the pre-sequel's timeline, because it contradicts everything that we know from Borderlands 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I just got a little migraine over that. This game is a headache. But, what really should have changed is, like I said, Nisha should have been an NPC, not a playable character. And honestly, We should have just had Jack and Nisha just interact with each other. Create scenarios, and this is the great thing about writing, is that if you want something to happen, you can write the story to incorporate these elements. And especially with something like this, it's really simple. You have them fight a bunch of bandits. It doesn't even need to take up a lot of space. This could have been a DLC storyline. You could have had some, Nisha in her own little town, fighting off bandits, and then Jack ends up helping her out. And I mean, that's really all you need to do. You bring them together, have them bond over their mutual hatred of bandits, and that's it. Boom! You already have their relationship started. And maybe you have her show her on Hyperion, like, the Hyperion, station right over Pandora. Have her with Jack, like, it's like there's not even, you don't really need to see a whole lot. You don't need to have this relationship shoved in your face. It's like all you need to do is have this show it and basically give us a believable build-up to them being together. Now, I do have to bring up Tales from the Borderlands, because as much as I hate Tales from the Borderlands, and I made a whole video, I think it was a Christmas topic, about Tales from the Borderlands, as much as that had a bunch of issues, there's one part from, I believe it was episode 4, when Reese goes into Handsome Jack's office. There was, and you look at the wall, like, in Hollow Jack, I actually have to admit, this is one of the few times that I actually had any sort of real emotional, a reaction to anything in Tales from the Borderlands. And much into the Borderlands anyway, because, they ended up killing a lot of the emotional impact the series had by going grimdark and then being like, but we're still fun, even though we killed off a bunch of characters for no reason. Anyway. Especially when Hollow Jack, who doesn't know all the events from Borderlands 2, because Tales from the Borderlands takes place after Borderlands 2, you have, he sees a picture of Angel, and he's actually saying something really sweet about her. And I like the idea of that, because I like the whole idea of him, dealing with Angel being his daughter, delving into that, because we know he's a totally abusive father. But having these moments where he believes that he's doing her kindness. It's really interesting, and it's a humanizing aspect of Jack's character that makes him more than just a crazy villain, and it gives him a little bit of a heart, even though you know that he's imprisoned his daughter and is pumping her full of iridium just to use her to, as a tool for his own means. But it's like, in his mind, he sees her and he's like, oh, my precious daughter. But in reality, it's like, he's been torturing her for like 15 years or something. It's stupid how long he's been doing that to her. But seeing that was nice. And another couple moments actually, is that he makes some very nice comments about Nisha and their relationship. And it's kind of funny because there's like, if you look at the chair and Reese comments on Jack's big office chair, and then Jack's just like, yeah, the office chair me and Nisha used to have tons of sex on, and then Reese is just like, no, too much information. Because I think maybe did Reese sit down in that? I think there may have been a choice to sit down in it or something, and he's like, yeah, me and Nisha used to bang on that chair. And he's just like, and Reese is just like, excuse me, sir, I do not need to know that. But and then if you go on to the wall of all the stuff he's proud of, and that has its own plot holes and stuff. But one of the things you have is one of Nisha's old hats. Now, Nisha's very protective of her hats. She gave one to Jack, and Jack legit, if you inspect it, Hollow Jack will say, that how proud he is of Nisha, and I was like, this is like, wow, she's gotta be right there, like, wow. It's like, and I remember when I screenshotted that and I posted that when I was playing that episode. I was just like, wow, that's actually a genuinely emotional moment. Jack was honestly proud and, loving of Nisha, and it's like, that, and I remember when I was playing it, I'm like, that is what we need. We need more of that. If we had more of that, we could have had such a great relationship with them, and it would have been a much more believable. I know there are people who didn't care for it, but if you actually give them believable build-up, believable romance together, oh, there's so much that could have been. It could have been good. Could have been great. And, I mean, legitimately, like, everything else that was going on in that episode just was ticking me off. But when I got to that, I was just like, wow. You know, and I do have to give credit a lot to Damian Clark for voicing that, because he really put a lot of emotion into that. And the dialogue for that was good. And I didn't quite get choked up, but it was just like a, wow, like... Despite, because the Tales from Borderlands, I mean, I talked about this in my video, it just got progressively worse. It got worse and worse and worse, and it turned into absolute garbage by the time of, you know, episode 5. Then it's just like, that one moment in episode 4 with Hollow Jack, and it's like, you know, stuff like that should have been in the pre-sequel. You know, it makes a few references. Just references. But, there really should have been those kinds of moments with Jack and Nisha in the pre-sequel. Moments where you can see that Jack legitimately does care about her. She legitimately cares about Jack. I mean, just the fact that she gave him one of her old hats, that speaks volumes just from Nisha. It's oh my gosh. I don't think this was intentional, really, but it's actually a really good writing that it says a lot without having to tell you anything. Because the fact that she's protective of her hats, and, you know, she will, you know, you mess with her at all, you touch her, you breathe wrong around her, she'll kill you. But she gave Jack one of her hats. I'm like, that just says so much about how she felt about Jack. And it's like, oh, it made me so... I was so glad to get a moment like that, but I was so angry because we could have had stuff like that in the pre-sequel. You know, I mean, you wouldn't have had those, and you don't even need to have a whole bunch of them, just a handful of moments, 4 or 5 moments across different parts of the games, where you see that genuinely caring. Because Jack is a fun villain, and Jack was hands down the best villain that Borderlands ever had. And really, if Jack wasn't ruined, you know, from the wildlife, you know, I forgot what it was called, the wildlife exploitation reserve, from that moment onward, really, in the, you know, the whole backstory with Helena Pierce, Jack would have been one of the best, the hands down best villain the series ever had. But of course, Anthony Burch couldn't get around to that because he ruined him. But if we had that, if we had his character handled well, and we had, you know, Nisha and Jack's relationship handled well in the pre-sequel, I think I really could have pointed to that as a great villain romance. And I think villain romance can be a little bit underappreciated. Because, yeah, you know, they're evil, but doesn't mean they can't care about each other. Doesn't mean they can't hook up. I mean, and, you know, sure, they can be evil together, and that's fun to watch, too, in a fiction. And I know I've been kind of gushing about this, because the good parts, really, and the idea of Jack and Nisha, really, and it's very shippable. It's very shippable. I really like them, and I really think that they should have gotten a lot more attention from the writing than they did, and they should have gotten better attention than what they did in the pre-sequel. Because I did mention that, you know, she had the hots for Jack and Jack had the hots for her, but there's one thing that really kind of bugged me is that the relationship wasn't purely just about sex in the pre-sequel. And that's the point that I do need to bring up. I probably should have brought that up earlier. The relationship just felt like it was about sex. He wanted to bang her, she wanted to bang him, and, well, yeah. But it's like, and that's why I appreciated the heartfelt moment in Tales from the Borderlands. It's like, if you want to build a romance, it's more than just they're banging each other. I mean, they probably would, you know. That's not the issue. It's, you know, that can't be all there is to it. Having those sweet moments, those genuinely emotional moments that build up a believable romance, because yes, even if they're villains, if you want to have them be together, it's still a good idea to build up a believable romance. And it should have done that. And that's something I definitely would have changed. So yeah, really, to sum that up, I wouldn't really change too much about the relationship. Just really the portrayal of it and the build up to it. That's kind of what I would do, because the groundwork is already there in Borderlands 2. We already get similar interests. They're very similar, but they're aesthetically different. You know, she's got the more rough and tumble look. She's got the whole cowboy thing going on, or cowgirl, I should say. You know, she's a sheriff. You know, she'll get down and dirty with a 6-shooter by her side. And then you have Jack, who has the same ideals, but he prefers the clean, pretty aesthetic of everything's nice and high tech, and he has a whole city of opportunity. He wants to sit in his ivory tower. And then it's like, and you can even see Nisha and Jack, having legitimate conflicts to build their relationship, and even her calling him out on stuff, because they'd be the only two people in the universe brave enough to call each other out on stuff and get mad at each other. And yeah, you probably still have some dysfunction, but it's a villain relationship. They're bad people. That stuff just kind of comes along with the territory. But it can still have been handled in a way that makes it still a genuine romance that could even have its sweet moments. I really think that's about it for this topic. I think I may have talked about a relationship in Borderlands between two of its villains long enough. But yeah. So, if you want to submit a topic, and again, I would say I do like talking about Borderlands, and there's so much I want to talk about, so you can submit that. Or if you want to submit, other topics, you can simply comment below if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Tumblr, send me an ask and do topic : then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Just make sure that you follow the rules that I'll be posting down below on both YouTube and Tumblr. Now, if you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done, and I'll be putting up the last anniversary topic video here. So, thank you for watching.